There's a lot of distrust of police and the government. There are people who are craving to be heard and to be seen and to have their humanity recognized. Our nation is hurting. It's in need of healing and leadership all the way from the top to mayors like me and to all of us to focus on how we bring people together.
Hey everyone, I'm Jennifer in New York. And for the past few weeks, millions of people have become more familiar with George Floyd's name and his tragic killing at the hands of police. But activists also want people around the world to remember Breonna Taylor, Atiana Jefferson, Yvette Smith, Sandra Bland, and the countless other Black women who have also been subjected to police brutality. It's part of a movement called Say Her Name. And today, we're gonna take a closer look.
We have seen the way that America has responded when they understand the legitimacy of one pandemic. So it's time for us to understand the legitimacy of another one, and that is racism, because COVID-19 is killing us, but racism has been killing us a lot longer.
And my sister was murdered.
They killed Ramadi.
Mohammed Ba was my son.
When it comes out to those guys, we targets, man. We're targets.
Black people are being tormented.
My black is crying.
But you know why I fight? I fight because of them.
My black is liberation. My black is human.
It's clear by now that a global movement has taken hold of the world following the deaths of George Floyd at the hands of law enforcement.
Across 4 continents.
Protests continue over the death of a Black man.
Since the killing of George Floyd in police custody.
But before there was George Floyd, there was Breonna Taylor. When was the first time you heard Breonna Taylor's name?
I'll be honest, was not much further than when I heard George Floyd's name.
When I heard that George Floyd was killed.
It was after Floyd, maybe 2 weeks ago.
A 26-year-old frontline worker. She was killed on March 13th, over 2 months before George Floyd, in a no-knock police raid at her house.
911, Operator Harris, where is your emergency?
I don't know what's happening. Somebody kicked in the door and shot my girlfriend. Help! Oh my God! Help!
It brings to light a bigger issue, the invisibility of Black women when it comes to police violence.
Breonna Taylor's murder, right, and that's what we're gonna call it, right? When you go into someone's home unannounced and you slaughter them while they're sleeping, right, and occupying the space that they think they should be the most safe, that is a slaughter and that is a murder.
I didn't see like any major news coverage. Really, honestly, the main reason is because she's a Black woman. You know, they have the saying, the most disrespected woman in America is the Black woman. And when it comes to us, it's like nobody's fighting for us. Nobody's fighting for us. Even with Sandra Bland, like nothing. It's like nothing gets done at all.
It was nothing.
Nothing is done. Nothing is ever done.
And it was just died down, and then we waited again for it to happen again.
So many times I've witnessed a shooting like this happening to a Black man. Let's say the same thing happens to a Black woman. You're not gonna hear much about the Black woman until the name of the Black man is brought to light.
The frustrating commonalities in a lot of protests is that they're often inspired by the death of men at the expense of the recognition of the ways that women are victims of state violence as well. Breonna Taylor was besieged in her own home, and so when these incidents happen in more private spaces, there isn't someone recording. Police violence doesn't always mean end of life. It's brutality, it's sexual violence in places where there are no witnesses.
If you go back in history and you see a lot of the pictures with regards to abuse and slavery, they're always showing you Black men. They're strung up. They show you Black men hanging. They never show you a Black woman hanging. So I think embedded in us is this idea that when it comes to injustices, it's a greater injustice is done to men than women.
It is a much more captivating narrative to hear about a black man who has been murdered, who has been burned. Regis Cortese Package, she was a black woman, 29 years old, murdered in Toronto, thrown off of her balcony when she called the police for help. No one has heard about her story whatsoever. It happened in the same week as George Floyd's murder.
Black women carried a nation, carried a soul.
Speak on it.
Carried a spirit of this country. That time is up to talk about oppression and not include the black woman.
Yep. Not only black women, but black trans people, black queer people. This movement is for all of them. It's not just for black, cis, hetero lives. This is for all of us.
Black life! Black life!
We make it known that it's black women that are driving this movement, and you will censor our voices, and you will censor our narratives and policy. Otherwise, no justice, no peace.
I'm a black girl who rocks, and my life sure does matter.
You need to listen to the black women of the past, the present, and the black women who are looking towards the future.
What does defunding the police actually mean, and what would it look like in practice? We asked Bloomberg Opinion's Noah Smith.
Protests against police brutality and racism have been erupting across the United States. Some protesters are demanding that police departments be defunded. Is that a good idea? Looking at police spending, we see that it's been about a constant share of city and state budgets over the past few decades. It's always around 4.5% to 5% of state and local spending. Because city and state budgets have gone up, what this means is that in real terms, in terms of dollars, cities and states are spending ever more on the police. Is there a good reason to do that? When we look at crime levels and policing, what we see is that there's really no correlation between how much crime changed over the past year and how many police are hired over the next year, implying that hiring of police is being driven by something other than a real need for policing. Also, crime in the United States, especially violent crime, has declined by a huge amount, between half and 2/3 since the early 90s, and yet police spending continues to rise. This is strong evidence that, at least in many cities and states, that politics is playing a role. Police unions have a great deal of political power. A number of people, including activists against police brutality, have been calling for curbing police powers of collective bargaining, because there is evidence that police unionization leads to greater rates of police violence. Restricting the power of police to form unions and bargain collectively could not only decrease police brutality, but it could also allow cities to cut funding for cops when the citizens decide the risk of police brutality is too high. So curbing the power of police unions is a policy step that people should look at.
Let's go!
696 builds Queensbridge, transformed the Queensbridge houses. I don't think that is the wrong verb. I think it's the right verb. Transformed the lives of people in the largest public housing development in the United States of America.
I'm sick and tired of hearing about the gun violence out here.
This block at one time was one of the most notorious blocks in the neighborhood. A lot of drug dealing, a lot of shooting.
We focus on creating sustainable, peaceful resolutions for conflicts. We focus on youth development. We focus on transforming the culture in places where violence has been the precedent. 696 comes from the fact that Queensbridge houses consists of 6 blocks and 96 buildings, which is the largest housing development in North America and arguably the world.
We had to come out on a Sunday, strive to gain intel. And a lot of the people that we speak to trust us to tell us information and try to curtail immediate conflict.
Hey, Miss Molly. This one is for you. You looking? How you doing? You're not paying attention. You ready?
Queensbridge is traditionally like a family community, a community of people that are families that have been here for generations and generations. So we're very well entrenched in the community, and I'm kind of happy that the city council decided to put a Cure Violence program here. Just to keep my loved ones safe, because I look at all these people as being an extended family. Over here you have another memorial. These actually are candles for my daughter. My daughter's name was Tayshana Chicken Murphy. She was a high school basketball star, ranked 16 in the nation at the time that she was killed. We kind of like try to keep these memorials up just to show young people what we don't want for them to end up being a memorial, being able to be memorialized due to gun violence.
Today, the mother has to bury her son, and the young man is going to grow up without a father.
It's really a 24-hour, not even a job, but a lifestyle to be a violence interrupter. The way that the team identifies crisis or potential spread of violence varies from the fact that our phones will ring with information.
I can think of a very specific incident that happened to describe this, and there were a group of young people, Group A and Group B, and there were firearms that were being presented. So we rushed out the building, broad daylight, and approached the situation. In our violence interruption reduction training, certain ways to approach violence, this is one of them, to buy time. Because the wrong words escalate a situation and turn it volatile quickly.
I said I was told him because I was wrong. I said that.
It wasn't about writing wrong. It was about identifying where the conflict came, where it came from, and how to avoid it. So in my saying that, that's what my point of bringing it up. It wasn't to put you on the spot or him on the spot, say you was wrong, say he was wrong. It was to identify conflict and avoid it before it happens again.
My staff is 99% formerly incarcerated persons.
I came to do this work because I was the high risk. My mom was a drug addict. I never knew my father, so I came up in the streets hustling, selling drugs. I wound up spending half my life in jail.
In the work that we do to mediate conflicts, you have to be both credible and suitable. So that requires that, one, you're known, you're respected, but also that you have a mindset towards growth, towards affecting positive change in the community. We don't go into the community and just do things. We ask questions, we talk to the community, and we find a way to meet them where they're at and provide what they ask us for. Law enforcement provides us with information, and we, under no circumstance, communicate back outcomes or report to them on any level. If we did, we would lose the credibility that we have in the community.
The core of our program, the model, which is interrupt, mediate, and change community norms.
Have a good evening. Share it with your friends and your family and let them know that we're here, 696 on the Hill, all right?
Teach young kids how to deal with conflicts other than fighting and shooting and killing each other, all right?
Yep.
That's what we do, so you're more than welcome anytime. Come up
anytime
there.
You got any problems up there, come up there and see us. Maybe we can resolve it for you, right?
All right. It's letting us know that like it's another chance, like give us a second chance at life. Everybody that like messed up before, like it's giving people like another background to like do something better for themselves.
We've seen the transformation in young people when they've been given these tools and found their own ways to utilize them in the community. Something very different is happening and communities are being empowered. So right now there are between 22 and 24 Cure Violence sites in New York City. We're going to continue to lead New York City in violence reduction, anti-hopelessness work to make sure that the human justice movement is put at the forefront of the conversation around change in this country and in this world.
Demonstrations in many cities have turned into moments for character-building conversations between people of all backgrounds. Devontae Hill is one of the organizers leading the change.
I need all of the white people on this side. I need all of the black people on this side. So I want you guys to scream as loud as you can. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. We are not forgotten. So everybody on this side, you guys got to be a little louder than them. As loud as you can. I want to hear you. I want to hear you. This is the deathbed of Dr. Martin Luther King. We have a right and a responsibility to pick up that torch that fell out of his hand some 52 years ago and taking that torch into the future and show what peaceful protest and solidarity looks like among all men, among all cultures, among all walks of life. And it seemed as if there was a ton of rage, a ton of frustration, and a ton of anger. And I thought it was important to get ahead of that rage and get ahead of that anger and try to reroute it to a more positive and a more productive leaning that would ultimately result in constructive conversations. We have African American people to scream and to be enraged and say, I am mad, I am hurt, I am upset. We have those white allies who are present to say, I am here, I am listening, and I am sorry if I have participated in any way. These type of conversations lead to healing. These type of conversations lead to progress, and these type of conversations lead to a more productive future. Those are the moments that cultivate the momentum and cultivate the energy that many people see when we're out on the streets protesting in peace. Not only do you come against police brutality, but you come against racial inequalities in all areas of the world. I can't bring my son back. But 17 years ago, I found him still on this battle. Because I want to save your child, your son, your grandson, your granddaughter. I want to save them. We have to send a message of peace.
When we lose a baby, it hurts. And we want to come out here and let you guys know. We know and we feel your pain. Come together, not fight.
Right now, the world is postured in a much different place than it could have ever been throughout the civil rights movement. We have never had more white allies who are crying out, what is happening to African Americans is wrong and has always been wrong. I think right now is an incredible moment that we've got to take advantage of. We've got to seize this opportunity to change a system. Even though this system is oppressive to people of color, it's going to take everyone to change it. It's all about perception, it's all about education, it's all about understanding. But what I am witnessing today is a change of heart among many people, and I believe people can change. I believe people can be repentant, and I believe African Americans, we've got to open our hearts to be able to say what's wrong, and we've got to open our hearts to be able to join forces with those who want to stand with us.
I'm joined by designer and founder Aurora James from Brother Vellies, who came up with a way for companies to actually show their solidarity aside from just posting on social media.
The 15% pledge is a business-to-business ask. So we're asking Target, Whole Foods, we're asking Shop and Nordstrom to come to the table and commit 15% of their purchase power to Black-owned businesses. That means their shelf space, anyone that they're working with, their vendors, really trying to hit 15% and have some awareness around what they're doing and how they're spending their money. We're incredibly excited to announce this Sephora is taking the pledge. The ones that we haven't heard from, their silence is of course deafening. The Black community and also America is waiting. It's not like this is a request from just Black people. This is a request from everyone. This started out as a simple ask that I made on my own private channel, and we now have almost 100,000 names on a petition. These are very real customers that are calling on all of these businesses to step up and take the 15% pledge.
We saw a lot of brands posting the Black Square, a lot of people posting the Black Square on Blackout Tuesday, and some people referred to that as being a little bit performative.
For a lot of brands, it was easier for them to just post the Black Square than to talk about what they want to do. I was seeing, but I wasn't necessarily feeling it. I really wanted to start understanding what kind of actionable change it would take from them in order for me as a Black woman and a business owner to feel supported. It's easy to write a check. A lot of them write checks all the time, but it's a lot harder to commit to long-term growth and also accountability. And we can all help you make the American business landscape better and more fair. So really pooling those resources intellectually to figure out how to get over some of these hurdles. That's what we're asking people for. I'm not asking people for a black box. Black box isn't going to save lives or uplift communities when we really need it.
George would say if he's seen everything that's going on right now, he would be smiling down. He'll be happy, man, because he was somebody that spreaded love. And to see all this love he's getting, it makes sense. And he was a father, he was somebody that every athlete would want as a friend. A lot of times being an athlete and being successful, people play on your friendship. They play on the fact that you have a lot of money. He wanted to genuinely see me win without asking for something or having his hands out. And it sucks that he had to go this way for his family's life to change. But I guarantee you he wouldn't change it. His brothers, his sisters, his kids, everybody's life is changing from this. The only sad thing about it is, it sucks that someone that shows so much love to everybody in the world, that spreaded so much love, had to die from somebody who shows so much hate. But justice to me is all these guys getting convicted, all going to jail for the rest of their life. We won't change. We have to get some laws changed, have to get some policies changed. And we got to get equal justice with the police. A big piece of us winning this fight is the youth support, because we're trying to change it and make it better days for the youth. I think everything that happened, it happened for a reason, but long as it's a good reason, and the good reason is his daughter's life gonna change and his family's life gonna change. Yeah, their tears might not dry up, but at least their next days will be their best days. He did what?
Daddy changed the world.
Because all over the world, George, they're marching with your name. You've touched the world in South Africa. You touched the world in England. You've touched every one of the 50 states. Even in a pandemic, people are walking out in the streets, not even following social distancing, because you've touched the world. And as we lay you to rest today, the movement won't rest until we get justice, until we have one standard of justice.
All right, that's our show for this week. Thank you so much for watching, and join us next week because we're going to take this conversation around the world and see how other countries are responding to the protests. And don't forget, you can follow Bloomberg Quick Take on all your social platforms, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube for 24/7 news updates. Thanks so much. We'll see you next time.